Gluten can decrease your leptin hormone's sensitivity by 50%. And your leptin hormone is your fat thermostat. It tells you that, you know what, you have eaten enough, you don't have to eat anymore. And when leptin hormone isn't as sensitive, then you just feel hungry all the time, like a bottomless pit, like you just had lunch and you can eat another lunch. And it can have to do with the hormonal reaction that gluten is having on your hormone leptin.
Doctor said you got PCOS. Now go on, girl, just lose some weight. Till I took the symptoms into my own hands and reversed them naturally. So I became a dietitian to help my sisters feel the best they've ever felt. Take a step in my direction if you wanna prove them wrong and take control of yourself. Join a sister and a
Tell the sisters how much you loved the meatloaf I made last night.
How dare you try to blackmail me into telling people how good your
Tell
meatloaf.
them.
I'm just kidding. It was
Tell
delicious.
them you love my meatloaf.
It was actually delicious. I loved combining it with the squash. What was that?
Squash.
Okay, what was the little puree?
Cauliflower mashed
potatoes.
Fool.
I always forget. What was it?
Mashed potatoes.
Potatoes.
There's no
delicious.
potatoes in it.
Oh, but it was delicious.
It was.
I loved it. Don't be offended that I used ketchup. You used ketchup too on your meatloaf, but it was really good.
Necessary.
Yeah.
You know, a classic dish like meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and green beans. That's basically what I made last night. It's actually a sisterhood recipe, except the meatloaf is made with turkey, and instead of breadcrumbs, I used oats, which surprisingly, like, you can't even tell that there's a bunch of oats in your turkey meatloaf. They just like melt away and they make the texture perfect.
It feels so lean when you eat it too.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like very high in protein because it's turkey.
Yeah.
It's very lean. You know?
I think it's my favorite way to eat turkey now because turkey's kind of like flavorless and the meatloaf had all these delicious spices and you can't tell that the texture is like dry ass turkey texture.
Well,
So
dry ass. Huh?
it's not like that in the meatloaf. So it was good.
I mean, I would say my favorite way to eat turkey is a turkey bacon sandwich, but second on the list would be this meatloaf for sure.
And the cauliflower mashed potatoes. Now, this is my favorite part because if you have a really low carb tolerance, you can make it with only cauliflower. And then if you can tolerate more carbs, then you can mix it with like potatoes and make it with potatoes and just steam the cauliflower and potatoes together, mishmash it and make a mixture of cauliflower and potato mashed potatoes, which is lower in carbs, or you could just have potato mash and that's a regular carb dish. So depending on what your carb tolerance is, you can modify this recipe. And we have different versions of the recipe in the Sisterhood app where you can say what your carb tolerance is. And then that's the recipe that shows up and tells you like how to make the meal. Yeah. But last night we had the low carb version and Sirak had potatoes that my mom made on the side for his carbs. But I decided to eat low carb.
I had to go high carb. I did a very heavy upper body day yesterday. Yes. But I was going to ask you, where can they download the Sisterhood app?
In the description
of
the podcast.
Yes.
I kept saying in the caption.
Last week.
Okay.
All right, everybody. So today we have a great topic today, which is something that we always get questions about: how to start going gluten and dairy free. A big topic that we're going to cover today, and we're also going to talk about some of the science behind going gluten and dairy free for PCOS.
Yes. As 80% of women with PCOS have insulin resistance and 100% of us struggle with inflammation, it's really important to consider going gluten and dairy free for at least 30 days just to see what reaction it's having on our symptoms. Is it creating issues with weight loss, fatigue, our mood, our cravings? I mean, these are major PCOS symptoms. And if we're eating gluten and dairy and these are inflammatory foods for us, then they're going to be triggering these symptoms every day, all the time. So it's really important, like I said, cut it out for 30 days, see how you feel, and reintroduce it and see if your symptoms flare up and how much you can tolerate overall. Yeah. Personally, I can't tolerate it, except for in small doses, little bites here and there if I really want to try something. The other day was Sirak's birthday, so I had a bite of cheesecake.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any?
I had the dairy, I had the gluten. No, I didn't break out because it was one bite. It was good, whatever. But one bite isn't going to make the biggest difference for my PCOS symptoms. And I know that. So I was able to enjoy a little bit and move on from it. But for some people, that could make a really big difference. And for others, it doesn't. So discovering your tolerance to gluten and dairy is important to making it a lifestyle change.
Absolutely. And we'll cover some of those tips for lifestyle changes to go gluten dairy free on this episode too. So stay tuned for that. And if you do have any questions after this episode, you can always ask us on Instagram at pcos.weightloss. You can DM us. And of course, you can always find gluten dairy free recipes in the Sisterhood app as well. But to get started, our first tip on going gluten dairy free is to educate yourself about the benefits of going gluten dairy free. Because once you know the benefits of going gluten dairy free, that makes it easier to decide whether it's right for you and whether you're feeling the symptoms improving because you're seeing how it's actually working. And talking about educating yourself about going gluten dairy free, let's talk about some of the research studies.
Yeah, let's get into a few science topics here, science articles.
Yeah, my favorite is honestly like the leaky gut and zonulin.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it?
Alrighty, I will say it. So, studies have shown that every time you eat gluten, it can actually release a protein called zonulin. Now, what zonulin does is it actually regulates your intestinal wall. And when there's zonulin protein released, it can cause cracks in your gut, which then allows bacteria and food particles to leak across the intestinal barrier into your bloodstream. Undigested protein like gluten can leak across the gut barrier and get exposed to your immune system. Your immune system sees these proteins as an invader, and this what leads to systemic inflammation. So if you're sensitive to gluten, every time you consume gluten, it can cause that inflammation in your body. So if you're getting like bloating every time you eat, that bloating can actually be due to this reason. But not just that, it actually gets a bit more serious when you look at the chain of events. So this chronic inflammation can cause your adrenal gland to interpret this as stress and begin to overproduce cortisol instead of regulating your metabolism and producing the hormones necessary to make estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Not only that, but inflammation can also impair your insulin sensitivity and damage the hormone that signals ovulation. These are all major factors. The list goes on and on in terms of what inflammation and the chain of events that can happen. For example, like testosterone and can causing inflammatory cytokines. But I think it's pretty clear like the chain of events that occurs just from the leaky gut aspect.
I can definitely attest to this. I felt like I looked like I was like pregnant after I would eat gluten. I was so bloated. It was unbelievable. And I was so sensitive to it. And being sensitive to it is different than having celiac disease and being allergic to it completely. Like one little piece of gluten can create a huge reaction for someone who is allergic to it and has celiac disease. But sensitivity, it's your symptoms sometimes are like more mild, like bloating or discomfort, moodiness, fatigue, and it can be really brushed aside quickly and like, I'm fine, without realizing that it was the gluten causing it. Everyone's different too. Like you can have a mild response or a major response like I did. It just depends on your sensitivity to gluten, but this zonulin reaction happens in everyone and it's not as severe in everyone, but if it is severe in you, then it could really be contributing to PCOS symptoms and you want to find this out. And the only way is to cut it out for 30 days and see how you feel.
Yeah. So hit us with that second thing about gluten.
Of knowledge.
Yeah.
All right. So gluten can decrease your leptin hormone's sensitivity by 50%. And your leptin hormone is your fat thermostat. It tells you that, you know what, you have eaten enough, you don't have to eat anymore. And when leptin hormone isn't as sensitive, then you just feel hungry all the time, like a bottomless pit, like you just had lunch and you can eat another lunch. And it can have to do with the hormonal reaction that gluten is having on your hormone leptin.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And another aspect to that, it can actually slow down your metabolism and make you put on more fat. Mm-hmm. So even though, like, let's say you're on a really strict diet, you're working out super hard, and
you're sensitive to gluten.
Well, it can actually cause you to gain weight and essentially like slow down your metabolism, like be counterproductive to all the work that you're putting in.
Exactly, because of that leptin hormone, which controls your metabolism. So it's
Yes.
very interesting, the hormonal response that your body can have to these inflammatory foods. I mean, don't get me started on dairy. We could go on for days.
Oh yeah, there's so much more studies, but this is just, I mean, we'll stop here and maybe we'll go back to the studies later on. But this goes back to where we started, our first tip to learning how to
Yeah.
go gluten dairy free, which is educating yourself about the benefits. Because once you know that, it explains why you may be feeling bloated all the time, why you're feeling hungry all the time, and why like your hormones may not be balanced no matter what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
So having that knowledge and taking those first steps and then seeing the benefits can help you pinpoint where those benefits are actually coming from.
Yeah, it'll really motivate you too to like continue and meal prep and do all the things. What if you had an app for PCOS that could tell you what to eat, when to work out, and how to track your goals every day?
Introducing the Sisterhood app. Not only does the Sisterhood app give you access to the largest community of women with PCOS, but it also provides you with a daily PCOS plan.
Your daily PCOS plan tells you exactly what to eat for each meal of the day. It's like having me as a dietitian in your pocket. It also sends you a notification when it's time to work out, and it provides step-by-step videos to help you reverse your biggest PCOS symptoms.
You also get access to 100 plus gluten and dairy-free recipes, the 5 Steps to PCOS Weight Loss Masterclass, and a full PCOS-friendly workout library to choose from.
But let's not forget the most crucial component of PCOS weight loss, the support. You're not alone. In the Sisterhood, you become part of the largest community of PCOS women where you can chat with us in our private Facebook group. Sirak, myself, and your fellow sisters are in there every day to answer your questions and support you along the way.
So what are you waiting for? You can head over to the App Store and search Sisterhood or click the link in the description to get started today.
See you in there. Our next tip on starting gluten and dairy free is to really set aside time to meal plan and cook. Now, it doesn't have to take forever and doesn't need to be complicated, which is why we came out with the Sisterhood app and all of the amazing gluten and dairy free recipes that take like 30 minutes. But basically setting aside a bit of time for this self-care moment, essentially, which is meal planning and cooking, is going to help you learn what foods are gluten free, what foods are dairy free, and realize that you can eat a lot of delicious variety of foods and things, and it's not as restrictive as you might think at first. And you'll become more familiar with the kitchen and with foods that you like eating, so that you replace foods that have gluten and dairy with things that you love and look forward to. And that goes back to my meatloaf from earlier. It's like a classic dish, and oftentimes it has breadcrumbs in it in the meatloaf, or dairy in the mashed potatoes. And I took something that's a classic family favorite and twisted it into a PCOS friendly way, so that you don't even realize that it's gluten and dairy free and you don't feel restricted. And that's because I took time to learn how to meal plan, cook, and take what I like and twist it and make it into a PCOS friendly version.
Absolutely. And I think something we're going to do for this episode to help those sisters out, to help you meal plan and set some time, we'll include a 3-day meal plan in the link of the description. It'll be a 3-day meal plan to help you get started and kind of acclimate to the gluten and dairy-free lifestyle.
Yeah.
So our third tip is taking things one meal at a time. Now, going cold turkey on both gluten and dairy is tough, let alone just like one of them. So instead of swapping everything all at once, we recommend to take it one meal at a time. So literally start with breakfast first. And let's start with, let's say, gluten. So for example, in the Sisterhood, we have the 5 Steps to PCOS Weight Loss, and the gluten usually comes before dairy, but it's up to you if you want to do dairy first. But essentially, for breakfast, see if you can, in your first week, if you can make your breakfast completely gluten-free. Maybe perhaps like having some eggs with a side of gluten-free bread, or even having eggs with
Potatoes. Or a protein shake, something with some dairy-free Oh wait, hold on. We're talking about gluten. So
Yeah.
gluten-free
I know,
protein
me too.
shake.
I was trying to think of like just gluten, but
Yeah.
my mind kept going gluten and dairy free.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can make yourself a protein shake, or like you said, you can, if you like eggs more and like warm breakfast.
You can do yogurt with gluten-free granola.
If
you know?
you're not ready to transition into dairy-free
Yeah.
yogurt yet. Just
So-
one step at a time.
Exactly. So start with breakfast, then you can now do lunch in your second or third week. Once you do breakfast and lunch, then it's dinner, and then you can now start incorporating going dairy-free into breakfast and lunch and dinner, and give it a couple months, and you'll be surprised. Like you'll be like, oh crap, today I barely ate any gluten and dairy, or I didn't eat any gluten and dairy all of a sudden. And yeah, we'll include the meal plan, the 3-day meal plan, which we feel may help for anyone who wants to have ideas or just learn how to make, meals for the first time.
Some people don't see the results of going gluten and dairy free right away, and some people do. But for me, like dairy free, for example, I had really bad cystic acne, and it didn't clear up for like 3 or 4 weeks into being dairy free. Like I didn't fully see the effect, and then my skin was completely clear. And so it just took some time, and I had to be really patient about it and keep an open mind, and just like, you have to consider like our bodies, we might have a lot of inflammation. It might take more than a day or a week or 2 weeks to really see that inflammation go down, and we have to be patient. Not to mention, going gluten dairy free is going to introduce you to new foods that you might not like. For example, I don't like rice-based pasta, because it's just like really unsatisfying to me. And a lot of people get turned off immediately, like the second they try new things, and they're like, oh, I didn't like it, so I stopped. I just can't do it, And I get that, but you also have to be patient and like try other things. Like I like chickpea pasta now, and there's some cheeses, some dairy-free cheeses that I don't like, and then I found Violife, and I really like that one. And there's ways to navigate it, and instead of just like writing it off because it's not your favorite foods, maybe you can find a way to make it work for you, and find a way to get your favorite meals to be gluten and dairy free and still love it, So it's just, you have to have an open mind and be patient about it, or else it's not going to be a lifestyle forever. It's just going to be this like 30-day thing, and then you might give up because you didn't figure out like how to make it work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. There was a recent meta-analysis study, which is actually really interesting, because a meta-analysis study is basically where they look at a bunch of studies that were done, and they come up with a conclusion based on all these different studies. And they found a direct correlation between dairy intake and acne development based on all the different studies that have been done in the past few decades. Now, with that being said, if you're struggling with acne, specifically like cystic acne, then going dairy-free can, for a lot of people, has had benefits, especially Tallene. Right, Tallene? I know you talked about it a little bit right now about your acne and dairy.
It's like, it was everything. Like gluten-free helped, but dairy-free was insane. I had huge cysts on my face, like cystic, painful acne that would just, there's no topical treatment to it, because it's really coming from within, and it's really this androgen problem that's being exacerbated because of having dairy, and that's making me more sensitive to testosterone, and that's making me more insulin resistant, and this whole conglomeration of like hormonal issues that were just feeding into the cystic acne. It was so bad. It was just so, I look back on it, I can't believe, how much my face really hurt. But okay, next, moving right along. Don't beat yourself up about cheat meals.
Yes.
So basically, we get a lot of questions on Instagram Live, I feel like, about cheat meals. People asking, can I have a cheat meal? Mm-hmm. Is it okay? And my answer is, it's fine if you're fine with it.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, this is not a restrictive diet. If you want to have a little bit of whatever it is, cheesecake on your husband's birthday, which is what I did yesterday, have a bite. We don't need to call it a cheat meal and like make a thing out of it, because this is a lifestyle, and this has to be sustainable for you.
Absolutely. And it doesn't mean necessarily that everybody goes 100% gluten or dairy free. Mm-hmm. We know a lot of sisters in the Facebook group that go 90% or 80% gluten or dairy free, and they see so many great benefits as well.
Yeah, and they don't see any harm done if they have like, a meal that had like, I don't know, a slice of pizza at a kid's birthday on a Saturday. I mean, there's still like 80-90% gluten free. It's just one Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely. And this is something we always talk about too, is it's consistency over perfection. Like nobody is perfect in this world in terms of their lifestyle, their diet. Not even you, Talene.
I'm
With your
not.
cheesecake eating ass.
Let me tell you, I had a bite yesterday. It was delicious.
I'm totally joking, by the way. This is totally
No,
joking.
and then I will say, like, the most recent blimp, if we want to call it, I don't know. I've been eating high protein dairy free yogurt, and it's a mixture of almond milk and soy based yogurt. And someone DM'd me and they're like, what about, like, didn't you say we shouldn't eat soy every single day? And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been eating this yogurt like almost every single day.
You didn't know it had soy in it
I
until...
did, but it didn't register that I was, because I saw the almond and soy. So it was like, oh, whatever. It's not that.
Talene.
Yeah. So
Be done.
I don't know. Let's see how my period is this month and like if it affected my cramps or whatever. Like, let's see if it's having an effect because everyone processes soy differently. Some people have a more estrogenic response to it, where if they have soy every day, their estrogen levels go up, but then some people don't. Everyone's different. So personally, I'm not really sure what my effect is going to be because I've never eaten this much soy before because I avoid it. And now I made this like mistake. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also do want to mention that if you go to, where'd it go?
Did I just erase the whole episode?
Yeah, you erased it.
Oh, there you go.
Okay,
It's back.
thank you for...
I clicked erase.
Wait, hold on. There's still more
I
erase,
still
babe.
erased it. Okay, I fixed it.
Oh my God. Are you sure? Okay.
Computer fell and I grabbed it and smacked the keyboard.
For anyone who wants to know the behind the scenes of what happens here, we have like a script or a document like me and Talene both look at from our computers. It's like a Google Doc document. That's where we make like the show notes and like all those kinds of things.
What we want to talk about is organized.
Yeah, so everything is organized, and Talene just like erased like half the show notes right now. Like I'm like, where to go?
Just like selected all and erased it.
All right. I did want to mention though before we end the episode that if you do go to our blog, pcosweightloss.org/blog, you'll find a lot of great articles, a lot of great links to different gluten and dairy-free alternatives. But we are going to include a 3-day meal plan in the description of this episode for you to kind of get started on your journey if you do want to get started. Or if you've already been gluten dairy free, it's a great way to see if there's something new. But of course, we also have hundreds and hundreds of recipes in the sisterhood that are all gluten dairy free.
Awesome.
Now, with that being said, let's go to our wins of the week. These are sisters managing their PCOS, showing PCOS, what a boss is.
Yes.
And just... doing their best.
This one is an amazing before and after of Julia. Her skin completely cleared. She says, about 6 months of a difference, gluten and dairy free and all the recommended vitamins. I've struggled so bad with acne and I've tried every medication possible to help. In these 6 months, I was on 0 medication for acne. I can't appreciate this group enough, the sisterhood. I hope this gives people in the group who struggle with acne hope. Excuse my face.
Wow.
She posted this amazing before and after that we actually put it on the sisterhood Instagram page. If you go to the.pcos.sisterhood, CYSTERHOOD,
on IG,
you will scroll through, see these amazing stories, and also see this incredible before and after of Julia's skin.
So we were talking about earlier about the studies showing the correlation from dairy and acne. And in Julia's case, she said that she removed gluten and dairy, and you can see how her acne, like, such a transformation. We're so happy for you, Julia, and amazing. Great job taking the steps. All right, our next win is from Amanda. Get ready for the big game with the buffalo chicken dip. So this is actually from Super Bowl week. We're mentioning this one a little bit late, but she shows the buffalo chicken dip that Talene posted in the sisterhood.
It looks so good.
Yeah, it does look really good.
She made it even prettier than the photo I posted in the app.
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda, for making this for the Super Bowl.
Awesome. I also made it. All right. Next is Megan. Except you had gastritis and you didn't eat it. See that?
I'm sorry.
Megan, she says, I'm sharing because I'm just relieved, and I know you sisters would be the only ones who understand and relate. I've been taking inositol for 2 months and started gluten and dairy free then as well. I've already been dairy free for years. Last week I started the slow weighted workouts, and this week I've been trying to be mindful of my carb tolerance too. Finally, I just started my period after 69 days. Look at you. I mean,
Amazing,
I
Megan.
know it was hard work, but definitely worth it. Awesome, Megan. I'm so proud of you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, just persevering, waiting for those like months at a time and still applying those lifestyle changes as you're waiting for your period to come just is great. So great job.
Awesome. I know it's really difficult. I personally didn't have my period for a whole year, and I tried all these things, and it looks like you tried so many things, and I'm glad we were able to give you direction, but I know how much effort it takes to do all of those things and finally get your period back.
Yeah. So those are some great wins. And also a shout out to everybody listening, because that alone itself is a win. You are literally taking a step every day, listening to this podcast and just trying to learn more and more about your body.
Congratulations. We're proud of you.
You don't have to put some attitude on it, Talene.
That wasn't attitude. I give you a gold star sticker. My sister bought gold star stickers for us to celebrate our workouts and like track and chart them.
Serious?
I'm dead serious. I just lost them, so that's the only problem. But
we do want to say we see you sisters in the Facebook group, in the sisterhood. We see you on Instagram. Everybody like putting in the effort and
working so hard. It's really not easy. Yeah. So we're proud of you. Well done.
Absolutely. Alrighty. On that note, it's time to skedaddle.
Talk to you soon, sisters.
Take care.
Bye. Hey sisters, just wanted to let you know that all of our podcast episodes have corresponding blog posts that dive deeper into each topic. So head over to pcosweightloss.org/blog.
Is it slash or is it / blog?
I don't know.
I've always heard one or the other.
It's /
or slash. Just in case, you can also go to pcosweightloss.org.